Give me 15 seconds, I will start streaming.
Sure.
Yes, Aga. You can start now.
Okay.
Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره اللهم أخرجني وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. The title for this lesson is توسعه خودی, expansion of one's self. So Ayatollah Mutahari rahmatullah alayh says that human beings have different levels. This, of course, can be discussed in different areas, but basically what he means here is that we have two types of self, two types of khud. In Farsi we say khud, two types of self. One is lower self, one is higher self. Lower self is the one that we need to resist, we need to control, we need to change, we need to purify. Higher self is the one that we need to flourish, we need to free from prison, we need to become. The higher self is a result of having a special spirit which Allah says, it's my spirit. نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. When Allah talked to the angels about prostration before Adam ala nabiyina wa alayhi salam, he said, فَإِذَا سَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. So this is what causes us to have a special self which is like an angel or even can be better than an angel. But the lower self is based on our lower realities, like being a physical mass, being a living being, and being an animal, because we are جسم نامی حساس متحرك بالإرادة, as logicians say. So we are jism, we are a physical mass. We are nami, means we are living, like plants. And we are animals. So we have sensation, we can move around voluntarily. But if we remain up to this level and think and plan up to this level of being a physical mass which has a life and is like an animal, then the self, the understanding of ourself that we have is lower, is sifli. But if we go to humanity, which is on top of being an animal, then it is LV, it's higher self. Sometimes philosophers or maybe spiritual writers, they say human beings are malak حیوانی نباتی جمادی. Every human being is an angel, who is an animal, who is a plant, and who is a physical mass, physical object. Is jism, because of our body we are jism. We are a physical or material mass. Nabat, we are like like animals, breathing, growing, having reproduction. We are like animals, we can move around and have understanding. And we are like angels. So every human being is an angel, an animal, a plant, and a physical mass. Not in the sense that we have four beings, four types of existence separately. We are one mawjud, one being, one existent, but with different levels. Like Ayatollah Mutar says, like one building with different floors. Imagine. Imagine in one floor, we are like physical bodies. In the second floor, like plants. You have heard, sometimes they say someone is in the vegetative state. This is when the life is at the level of being a plant. Then there is third level, being like animal. An animal has more functions than a plant. And then being like an angel. If our human virtues develop, our human qualities develop. So one being with different levels, different dimensions or aspects. Mullah Sadra, rahmatullah alayh, used to say, "An-nafsu fi wahdatiha kullul quba." Nafs in its unity, nafs is one thing, but has different faculties and different powers, different aspects and different powers. For example, thinking, faculty of for appetite, faculty for anger, faculty for thinking. All these are part of and dimensions of one nafs. We are one. Yeah, every person is one person, one reality, but different levels. At the level of being like an angel, there is no conflict. Angels have no conflict. If there are millions of angels, they have no conflict. The late Imam Khomeini used to say, if all the prophets live together, imagine if you bring 124,000 prophets in one city, they will have no problem at all. They would have no enmity, no rivalry, no conflict. But if two people, only two people, have not purified their nafs and they operate at the level of an animal or a plant or physical body, they may have conflicts, even two people. Sometimes two people cannot live together in a city or village. Sometimes thousands of people can live together peacefully. So at the level of being an angel, there is no conflict at all. And you don't see that presence of others, happiness of others is any issue for you. Indeed, you will be happier if there are others. Yeah? If you see good people around you, it makes you happier. But when you come down to the level of animal self or lower, then presence of others can become an issue. And then you would see yourself as someone in isolation from the rest. The main thing for an animal is to look after himself or herself. What he needs takes from others, doesn't have concern about others. Unless there are social animals that then they may have concern for people in their own group, not about others, even animals of other groups from the same type. For example, if there is a group of, I don't know, elephants living together, they may have concern for each other, but maybe not about other elephants of the world. So, conflicts start when we have not grown into angelic level, into being true human beings. Or, in other words, you can say when our lower self is dominant and our higher self is not flourished, is imprisoned. Imprisoned. Molavi says something interesting in one couplet. He says جان گرگان و سگان از هم جداست. جان گرگان و سگان از هم جداست. Gorg means wolf. Gorgon means wolves. Sagan is plural from sag. Sag means dog. Jan means life, soul. So lives or souls of wolves and dogs are separate from each other. Wolves with respect to dogs, and also even wolves inside their own group. A wolf is not, for example, charitable towards another wolf. Yes, when they need each other, they can be together, but it's not that they have concern for other wolves, even if they are not benefiting from them. So he says, جان گرگان و سگان از هم جداست. The soul, the lives are separate. متحد جانهای شیران خداست. But lions of God. Lion is the animal which is considered different from dogs and wolves and other animals. Lion is the one that is considered in literature not only as a brave animal, but as an animal which has the capacity of looking after others. This is why it's considered like a king, for example, because can look after the entire family of the animals, for example. But here, Shiran Khuda, lions of God, refers to true human beings. He wants to say when human beings are like dogs and wolves, they cannot be united. But when they are true human beings, lions of God, then their lives are very close to each other, their souls are united. جان گرگان و سگان از هم جداست. متحد جانهای شیران خداست. متحد means united. So souls of the lions of God are united, but dogs and wolves are not united. So, what's then a suggestion for unity, for avoiding conflict, or for growing? Because we want to grow. It's not that we just want to avoid conflict. We need to move from lower self to the higher self. One way of doing this is through self-purification, resisting against your lower desires, and growing in your humanity. But we can explain it in another way as well, and that is by expanding and stretching your limited self. A child, Ayatollah Mutahari says, a child may think only about himself or herself. Even a child may look at parents in an instrumental way, in the sense that, my father, my mother, help me, give me this. There was a video clip a few years ago, this must be still there, that a mother asked a child, "Do you love me?" And the child, was maybe, I don't know, 2 years old, three, and said yes, and then said, "I love you because you give me cookies." The reason for loving is because mother gives cookies. Maybe this is not the case about all children, but it's very natural that a child may think everything is for him or her, and as long as they benefit him, they like them, or benefit her, they like them. But we need to reach the point that we can be more expanded in our vision. One way of expansion is marriage. If marriage is based on just animal desires, on shahawat, again, it's not that much growth. If husband and wife are married just to benefit from each other, just to enjoy themselves, okay, it's better than not marrying. But this is not the whole philosophy of marriage, that you just benefit from each other. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. If we marry in the way that Allah is pleased with, then friendship and mercy will grow between husband and wife. A time may come that one of them becomes, for example, ill, cannot help. One maybe is in prison, for example, I don't know, unjustly. One maybe is traveling and away, but the other one feels still very united, very loyal, very kind. So not because it's enjoying this marriage by benefiting from that person. Maybe it's not benefiting, has to benefit. This is mawadda wa rahmah. If marriage is based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, it has a spiritual impact. And that is by growing yourself. Before marriage, maybe you had grown to include your parents and siblings, for example. And alhamdulillah, many people, I think, they are not that selfish, at least in alhamdulillah, in our communities, in tradition. Overall, normally, every person is concerned at least about his father, mother, siblings, at least. But some people know, they just think about themselves. When they marry, there is a chance, not guaranteed, there's a chance that maybe, okay, now they think about a bigger unit, a bigger self, which includes themselves and their spouse, husband or wife. Now, it's not only my happiness that matters. My wife or my husband should also be happy. And sometimes we feel happier if the other party is happy. We are happy to sacrifice our comfort so that the other party is happier. If there is only, for example, a little, I don't know, of something, we are happier if the other party takes it. For example, there is, only one fruit. Okay, I'm happier to see that my wife is eating or my husband. So everyone offers to the other one. Sometimes there is, maybe back and forth offering. You said, no, you eat. No, you eat. Then may they just make it half. So this is growth in one's self. This is growth in one's self. If it's not just based on exchange and, taking and giving. What I am taking from this marriage. I'm not taking anything from it. I don't want to be in this. I'm because I can do the same without being married. No, this is not the mentality. Then you have children, even you become larger in your heart, yourself is growing. Ayatollah Mutahari says ego is like a liquid, as an analogy. When this container was for one person, ego is more. When it grows to include two people, but you have the same ego, so it becomes lighter. Yeah, because now the container is more. And when it's, for example, with children, becomes lighter. So if marriage is considered in Islam as a spiritual method, it's because we don't look at marriage as a way of getting pleasure. We don't look at marriage as a way of serving our lower self. We look at marriage with the ability to help us with purification, getting rid of, or at least weakening our ego. He says there are certain aspects that in family can grow. Of course, if we have had, he says, ulama, great ulama, that they never married because they wanted to be very spiritual. They never married. Or maybe there are people who don't find right partner to marry. Yeah, but generally speaking, Islam encourages us to marry if there are good opportunities to marry people with the same understanding about life. So it's sunnah to marry. So it's not haram not to marry. It's not depriving you from closeness to Allah if you don't marry. But if possible, it's better to marry, although there were some spiritual masters who didn't marry by choice. But Ayatollah Mutahari says maybe they didn't, those who had choice and they didn't marry, maybe they didn't then have the experience of married people, which brings its own way of growth. Maybe there are some types of growth that when you are married, you can have. Why? Because there are some types of training, we can say, some types of exercise, sometimes of types of controlling yourself and anger that through marriage and sometimes through also father, mother, you can get. In other words, if I want to make it very simple, there are some types of hardship also, some types of patience that you need to grow, and that comes through marriage, because marriage is not something also easy. To get rid of your ego, get rid of your preferences, get rid of your planning sometimes is hard, but anything hard can also, if it is done in the right way, be a way to grow. So if there is a choice, it's better to marry because it helps us with a spiritual growth. He mentions things like, for example, bravery. He says bravery cannot be achieved when you are only at home or at a school or at your work. Bravery needs also environments that help with growth. For example, he quotes a story from Molavi again. Molavi says that there was a Zahid, a person who had ascetic life, a person who was devoted to prayer and dua and had no interest in dunya. But this person had told some soldiers that because I don't want to be deprived of the benefits and reward of a struggle and jihad for the sake of God, if there is any battle, anything that you need to defend, let me know so that I get reward of this as well. I don't want to be deprived of the reward of being a mujahid. So he says, after some time, they informed him that tomorrow you must be ready uh, because we need to mm, move somewhere to fight against the enemies. So he went and joined them, and when they were there, they were informed that enemies have attacked. So those who were trained, those who were used to this, quickly they started, moving and riding their horses towards the enemies. But this Zahid, who had no experience, when he started, putting on his dress and making du'as and zikrs, etc., it took time. By the time he was ready to move, Molavi says the soldiers came back and they had finished the job. So this person was very sad that he couldn't have, any chance of sharing with them. So they saw that he's very sad. They said, okay, we have one person from enemies that has killed many of our people, and he deserves, for example, I don't know, justice, etc. You can kill him. He's arrested. You can kill him. And they knew that it's safe because he's arrested. Anyway, I'm not commenting on the story because someone who's arrested, should not be killed. It's just a story. But this person could not even kill the arrested person. After some while, they found that the arrested person has attacked him and is trying to kill him by doing his, neck, although he was arrested. So they managed to separate them and save him. They said, "What happened? You had sword. He was arrested." He said, when I was close to him, he looked at me with his eyes and said, "Pech." In Farsi, when sometimes we want to frighten someone, we say "Pech." So this person then lost his, he fainted and, lost his control and fell down. So what Molavi wants to say is that you can be a great person, but if you don't have experience of taking part in training and in going to battle, you may not develop bravery. You may not be ready. Or for example, about swimming, you may be a great doctor or engineer or teacher or cook or driver. You may read lots of things about swimming, but if you don't go to the pool or sea and you don't try and experience and train yourself, you don't become a good swimmer. Okay? So there are things that you need to be put into them so that you grow. And family life is like this. In the same way with social responsibilities, unless you are put and experience, you may not grow in that aspect. So this is one level of growth inside family. But this is not enough, because then if you are limited to this, you may have concern for your family or extended family, but what about others? You may not bother about them. Then one may grow up to tribal self. Okay, all people in our tribe are very important for us. Like they're like our own brothers and sisters, etc., uncles and cousins, but not others. Okay, this is one level of growth. At least you are thinking about the whole tribe, but because you are excluding others, it's not enough. Then can be about nation. Okay, I'm concerned about my nation. Ayatollah Mutahari says some people are like this. For their own nation, they try to be honest, they don't try not to cheat, they try to look after them, but they don't mind looting other nations for their own nation. They may be very biased and they may discriminate against other nationalities, ethnicities, but for their own nation, they try to be good. Okay, this is good that they have grown to include the whole nation. They are honest with their own nation, they don't betray their own nation. Any person from their own nation they respect. But this is not enough, especially when it's with the cost for others. Then some people grow to love all human beings. There can be degrees. You may love your father, mother, children more than, for example, other human beings, because that's on top of humanity. But you have love for all human beings. You have concern for all human beings. And even there is no need to be only human beings. We can have love and concern for all creatures because they are all sacred, all created by Allah. Every creature has a signature of Allah on it. Like every painting has signature of the artist. Every creature has signature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can grow to the extent that you feel united with the whole creation and you have concern for them, and this is what makes you able to get close to Khalifatullah, the vicegerent of Allah on the earth, because vicegerent of Allah on the earth feels responsible for all inhabitants and all the creatures on the earth, and through him grace of Allah is distributed. So in this way our self, our khudi can grow. We have some questions to answer inshallah in the next session. What about human beings who become unjust, who become unethical, who harm others? What should we do with them? Another question is, what about people who are from our own faith, from our own community? What should be our feeling towards them, and how our self should include them? What about doing good things for people then who are not faithful, who are faithless, for example, who are kafir, to be kind to them? What is the situation? Of course, each of these questions need lots of discussion, but inshallah in the next session we will address this issue.